Hey, what's up team? This is Eddie Gray, and the purpose of this video today is to learn how to use EGOIST by SUGARBYTES. I've been trying to learn this program for years, and you know how it is. There's a lot going on in life. You have to undertake so many different things on any given day, and I just never got around to it. Well, the other day, I believe it was yesterday, I woke up with just this fury of energy, just ready to go, And I was up at 4:30, and I was just called to learn this program. And I was reading the manual and just getting all, the details in. And then I thought to myself, you know what? We should do this live. We should learn this together. For those of you who've always wanted to learn this program, but again, you just never had the chance. What I want to do today is I want to look at the manual, read it together, consider this a study group, if you will, for modern creatives that want to get ahead, and of course are balancing all the things of life. So super excited to be here. Just a quick heads up, it's very possible that you might hear my phone ring as I'm expecting a piece of gear. So that's my context. But otherwise, we'll go through some of the manual, all of the manual, we'll see how it goes. But this is a great opportunity for us to learn this program together. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview on it, and then we will get into the manual. So if you want to make beats and quirky and interesting songs, this is a great tool. If you want to use a sampler that's a little bit more intuitive than, say, anything that's stock, again, a great choice. Let me play you something that I wrote with this tool this morning. So when I first started playing with this, when I purchased this, I don't know, a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, it looked very intimidating. And this is one of the reasons why it's good, for us to come together and commune like this so we can kind of talk about and demystify some of the things that really are not that difficult, but because, for example, there's no lettering here, there's no indications of what this symbol is. I mean, we can all pretty much guess what the dice is for, right? To randomize, but pretty much, it gets challenging. One of the things that I was confused with, as simple as it may sound, but there is a preset menu here, and then there's another one somewhere else. Yeah, so there's a difference between a preset, for example, and there's a difference between a sample. And so these are some of the things that were really getting confusing to me. I can't find the thing I was looking for, but you will see it soon enough. I am sure of it. When we start talking about the oh, here we go. Sorry about that. You see? There you go, guys. So there's a difference between a preset per se, and there's a difference between a sample. So here you've got a bunch of samples, and then of course the samples make up all the various presets. So there's that one distinction, which took me a while, and even right now, right? Took us a second to get there. And so before we dissect each one of these tabs, what they all do, let's talk about setup. So here are the settings on this fourth tab. And since we are playing with Logic, with a DAW, this pertains to all DAWs, we're going to choose the external function. If you have it in internal, it's kind of like a standalone plugin, and so we're going to select external. This is good if you want to use it, if you want to play it. You want to use this like a MIDI instrument. If you choose host, now you have a different behavior altogether. It kind of turns it into a step sequencer of sorts. So my recommendation is you stay in external. All right, so let's get into the manual here. I've already kind of started. I got up early this morning and got into it. But really, when we look at the program, it's a jamming unit, really fun. It's like an instrument. But at its core, EGOIST combines a slicer beat, and bass section. There's also effects, to be specific. There's 7 of them to add some special sauce. And we can go over this typical workflow here in a second. But here's the best part. The simplicity and limitations of EGOIST will focus your creativity. So that's kind of the best part about it, is because there are some constrictions, you learn how to really kind of be creative. So let's go over the basic workflow. We're going to load not a preset, but a sample. I'm going to go here, and let's do something internal for now. So I'll go under chords. All right. And then if I press spacebar, nothing happens because it's not in the step sequencer mode, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit my keyboard. And let me turn off the effects. So the only thing I want to hear is just this one sample. So I'm also going to mute the beat and bass. So we should just be hearing the sample. Check it out. Okay, so this plugin can very easily go haywire, and so I want to just introduce you to the hierarchy, so you can ride the horse a little bit. So really, if you want to master this plugin, you have to understand it is based on 16 patterns. 16 slices is a very common number in this program. And so here's one pattern, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4. And these are all within the slicer, but also the bass and the effects. So if I click on these, you don't see any information now. But for example, in 1, I'm going to start drawing stuff and adding instruments. And when I go to 2, you'll see that nothing has been inputted essentially. And if I go back, you'll see the information there. So that kind of breaks that up at the most basic level. So let's go back to number 1. Let's go back to the slicer. Let me play. So that's C1. All right, there's a loop range right here, and I'm going to extend that all the way out. And so I'm just going to hit C1, and you're going to hear the slices playing in sequence. So every one of these steps represents the slices. All right, so that's pretty easy to understand, right? It's not too complex. So we loaded our sample, and then it says here, pick a beat and add some bass. All right, so let me turn on these units now. Personally, I like to pick things apart so that I don't get confused. I want to know exactly what this is doing, exactly what that's doing, and we'll go over some of the other details here over time. And so then now, if I go into the bass and beat feature, you can sequence this yourself, but I'm just looking to put some stuff on paper here. All right, and let's see what it brought up. Here we go. I'm going to hit C1 to activate the whole sequence. All right, so one of the things I found very confusing when I first started was the bass is playing forward and the drums are playing in reverse. And then again, because there's not a lot of verbiage here letting us know what's happening, if you just hit this forward button, now they'll be running in sequence. So this is very important to those of us who are beginners and we think left to right. Right? It could be super confusing to just see something out of nowhere just going backwards like that, especially if you're not well studied and have experience. So here, let's play this. Okay, just to keep it real simple, I'm going to change the presets here. There's a lot more that you can do. I just want to be clear. Okay, let's say you didn't like the pattern for whatever reason. You can randomize, but the beat section particularly has 16 patterns. It could be 32, but I'm pretty sure it was 16 that you can choose from here. So that the pattern is different than the the what's the word I'm looking for? Than the samples themselves, right? Than the construction kits. So let's listen here. All right, so that sounds pretty good to me. So I'm gonna leave that as is. Let me raise up the volume a little bit, and then for the bass, we'll just leave it there as well. And you could change the sample there. Yeah, this is a great tool, especially if you get hired for a gig that needs, quirky, interesting, weird music. That's definitely the one. Okay, so then we're going to use the effects to make it funky. So the slicer already has the effects on. These don't. I'm going to leave them off so you can really hear what's happening in essence. And so, again, you can input this information. This is very kind of close to home when it comes to SUGARBYTES and their workflow, if you know what they do. So I'm going to hit randomize again, okay, and let's see what happens. Oh. Alright, so without the effects, sounds like this. But this just makes it a little bit more real. And again, another newbie beginner mistake. When I first started playing with it, it was interesting. I thought this was a kind of, a wet dry kind of signal, where if I went to the left, I was hearing more of the slicer. If I went to the right, I was hearing more of the effects. Again, it wasn't clearly indicated, but this is just a simple volume knob. So there you go. Alright, so then now this is with the effects. Okay, so then if we put all of that together, yeah, so you can see it's a very fun tool. So it's important to just look at the tool, look at it in action in a very simplified manner, because of course it's not that simple. I mean, it can get pretty complex pretty fast. So this is why we're reading the manual today. Okay, so there are 8 mini workflows. So I think we'll just start with that. It says here, the play button on the left hand side of the header will start EGOIST. Alright, so if you just want to start it like a step sequencer, you could just... Okay, now remember that this behavior is determined by the settings. So I just want to be clear about that. So that is pretty simple. Use the arrows in the preset browser to toggle the factory presets. Now what does it say here? The play and preset browser with undo, redo, tempo control, and swing. So this is undo, this is redo. Alright, if I want to play with the presets, you can do that right here. Let's listen to a couple. Alright, let's say for whatever reason you wanted that in half the time. So I'm currently playing 1/16 notes, and so I'm just gonna click and drag to the left, and we'll go 1/8 notes now. Let's check that out. Actually, I kind of like that a lot. And then you have a swing function here. Again, click and drag to the right or left, and this helps with adding groove. If you know about swing, it basically shifts the second and fourth note of the phrases, and so it just gives it a little bit more funk. If you think of guys like Dilla, a lot of hip hop utilizes this. Phenomenal. So go ahead and look into that. So right now I have 0 swing. Sounds like a machine. Sounds like a step sequencer. And so as I play this out, I'm going to go ahead and start increasing the swing. Okay? Here we go. You know what though? Let's do it on something else that, yeah, let's try this. So yeah, you can hear that bounce, right? Just has a little bit more bounce to it. So experiment with that. Fun stuff. Okay, so flicking through the factory presets, that's number 1. Pretty simple to do. Remember the edit patterns right here. Switch to pattern mode to easily access and edit the factory presets. One of the most confusing things, again, when I first started, were just these 3 buttons. I didn't understand how it worked. You know, in theory, my head understood it, but I just couldn't grasp the fact that there was 3 of them, and then you had this keyboard mode as well, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, these are all the patterns within all the various parts within the one song. Think of this like the arrangement, if you will. Okay, so number 2, we're going through all the workflows. Reset EGOIST settings by choosing initialize from the user folder in the preset browser. I don't know about you guys, but in mine, I don't remember finding it. I could be wrong. Yeah, you see, I didn't really get that. Oh, wait, but preset. So I'm not sure. Maybe I deleted it or something. But anyway, you should be able to hit initialized to go back to a blank sesh. All right. And then we're right here. Open the sample browser to load a factory sample or pick load sample. All right, so I'm not going to load something that they're going to use. I'm going to load one of my own samples. So I'm going to go load sample. And another thing you could do rather than searching the library, I've already sifted through some of these, is you could just grab this and then just drag it inside. And so that's a really clean workflow, so I got to give them props for that. All right, so let's listen to this now. Again, I'm going to start. Let me start turning off stuff. I just want to be 100% clear, okay? Here we go. Oh, hold on. Just incredible because you can just start generating ideas just out of the gate like that. It's really, really nice. All right, and then if you want to pre-listen, I thought this was pretty valuable. Let's see, can I increase the size of this? No. You can hit this little play button right here, and that will allow you to listen. So it's pretty great. Allows you to hear the original sample, not all the slices. If you want to listen to the slices, you just click in between, and you should be able to hear the edit. Yeah, so great stuff there. 16 slices will cut up the selected area into 16 bits of equal length. This may not be relevant for certain tracks, so I'm going to hit 16. You can see obviously not relevant. So I'm going to hit undo. And I'm curious if I hit Command Z, if Logic will... yeah, it looks like it's performing the undo actions as well. Let me see, let me try it. Let me try adding another sound, and let's see if it Command Z. So it looks like it's performing undo actions for the plugin itself, but not for the slicer. So just a heads up with that. If you want to enable that feature where the plugin has a undo function, you want to click on the menu here for a plugin and enable include plugin undo steps in project undo history. All right, so that's good. So let's see, we've pre-listened. We've talked about how to slice. So as soon as I drag something in, let's drag something else in. Let's do this one. You'll see that it automatically starts to slice based on the sensitivity dial. So if I want to place them at different places, let's go to 100%. Now we have 16 slices all across the board. But what if you wanted something a bit more simple? Let's see what that sounds like. So you're not hearing any of these play because these are all above slice 3. So if I bring this down, hopefully you will hear this. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So I had the slicer off there. So yeah, just be aware of those little things, okay? So we don't need anything above 1, 2, 3, right? So this is something where you can use the sliders here to create your own pattern. If I click in the middle of this specific lane, you can see that now I've enabled that channel. It was muted before. You can do that for syncopation and all sorts of fun stuff. So here's bar 1, bar 2. All right, so let's hear this. I don't want to do the rest of it. All right, so to see now we have a different pattern. Again, determined by the tempo. The swing is influencing it, right? We're hearing kind of that bebop kind of bounce. So let's go ahead and just take that as 0, and then I'm just going to go a little bit faster with the. So yeah, I mean, I just love that you can just get a bunch of ideas. It's fantastic. Okay, so now we're going into arranging the slices. The slice arranger with vertical indicators, 1 through 16. On the right, copy and paste controls, reset, random, and arrows for sequence shifting. So let's go over that. So here's copy, here's paste. Why is that important? Well, as I mentioned, we are on pattern 1. If I want to take all this behavior to, let's say, pattern 7, which is currently in its default initialized state, I should save this preset. Then you paste it right here, and you can see that now we have the same behavior, but in another pattern. So like here's 7, and I'm going to go ahead and paste, and so now 8 rather, and so then now we can play that, right? It's not only on 8, it's on 7, and we also have it here because we copy and paste it. All right, if we wanted to reset the pattern, we could just hit the X, and that's going to reset it. Okay. If I want to randomize, we've got that, and then now let's play with sequence shifting. I'm gonna undo a couple times. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so then you see how this is laid out, and I'm essentially just going to shuffle everything over. So this last slice will move over to slice 1. Slice 1 will move over to 2. 2 will move over to 3. If you really want to understand what I'm talking about, look at this slice here, the one that's raised up to 15, and you'll notice that every single time I hit this button, we're shuffling the pattern over, and that actually will have a drastic effect, rhythmically specifically. But here, check it out. All right, let's say we wanted to pitch the last note. In this lane, we've got 2 squares, right? 2 lanes. The first one, you can change the pitch by semitones, just by changing the numerical value by clicking and dragging up. And then down here, we can change it by octave. So let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, so really fun stuff there. Okay, see, where are we here? Up, back up. So you can change the clock division, loop length, and play direction. So clock division, that one I was kind of confused about. So I understand the loop length and play direction, so that would be here. Uh, Hold on. If I wanted to change this and make it a very simple and quick loop, so that's easy to understand. What else did we get? What was it? Oh yeah, loop length, play direction. If I want to make this play in reverse, you could just play reverse, play reverse. Not really relevant because this is not a sustained element, so you're not hearing if the sample is being played back or not, or in reverse or not. And then the last one, like I said, clock division. Wasn't really sure kind of where to find that. I assume it's up here. In other words, if we want to play it a little slower, again, I don't see anything that says clock division, but that would have to be my guess. Playing it even slower than that. And then again, if you want to play it forward, or here's backward. Here is forward and backward. And then here's just a random, all over the place approach. Okay, cool. And I just learned right here that if you want to increase the steps for all of them, you just click on these arrows here, and that will bring you where you need to be. All right, that's great. So we're going to pick a beat now. Go to the bass beat. Pick any of the 32 kicks, snares, and hi-hats per kit with the 4 drum selectors in the beat section. So we have a total of 32 kicks, snares, and hi-hats, and 4 drum beat selectors. So let's see, we're back here. Let's turn on the drums. And here are the 4 beat selectors. So a total of 32 as mentioned, and we can mix and match the samples. For example, if I want to match sample 3 of the kick and sample, 13 of the hi-hat, and then of course they have these presets configured as well. You can increase the volume of the kick, snare, and hi-hat separately, and I love that the hi-hat itself has a separate pan knob. Here, let's play this for you. Let's say you wanted to change the entire drum kit. You like the pattern. I'm going to click, go up, and here we go. Okay, again, we can adjust the volume, the pitch. Pitch you can play with here, right below the volume knobs. The hi-hat additionally offers a dedicated pan control, which we talked about. And then there's a plus and minus buttons to the right. These toggle between 16 ready-made beats. The quickest way to add some structure to your track. Okay, so let's look at that. Here are the beats. There's a plus and minus here, and again, these are all the presets, if you will. All right, and so let's see, is there anything here about the beat sequencer? Pick loud or attenuated drums. So if we want, let's say, this snare to be a little more quiet, and then maybe loud, loud, loud. Same thing with this kick, I would assume. Yeah, same thing. Let's just add a roll like this. All right, let's listen to that. So, you know, you'd create a pattern like that, right? And then I'm not dealing with the bass or the drums. I'm dealing with global now. So I'm gonna hit copy, go to bar, let's just call it 10. It could be any number. And then I'm going to paste the information. But then I'm not going to use this pattern anymore. So I can go from this crazy pattern to all right, so you guys get it, right? Okay, let's move on here. Add some bass. So this is a bass sequencer. You can define the note length, quarter step, half step, full, and tie with the next step. The right column of the pop-up menu contains glide notes. Okay, so let's, what are they talking about here? If I start to input some bass material, say I click here, all of these are going to have glide and these are not. So let's just play a quick straight passage, just regular notes, no glide. Check it out. Alright, so you can see that that's kind of boring, right? So I'm going to go ahead and slide up and see what this sounds like. Okay, maybe we'll go, yeah, I know what we'll do. Down here, you can change the pitch. See what this sounds like. Alright, here, let me go ahead and just change and randomize the value here. Yeah, there we go. That sounded nice. So okay, maybe I gotta do this. Yeah, these aren't tying the way that I would expect them to. I wonder why. Alright, so I'll work on my bass skills there. Let's see. The bass unit is simple but very effective. I beg to differ, but let's keep going here. I just didn't understand how the tide was working. Like they said it was on the right side. So we'll keep playing with it. See, the bass sequencer, you can populate the pitch lines with random values separately. If the steps are graphically connected, bottom entries of the bass note menu, oh, they will tie. Oh, so it's the bottom entries? So here, let me see if I can try that. Yeah, I don't understand why that's not moving. Should be going down or up. Must be something I'm not catching there. Alright, well, let's keep this going. If tied glide notes are being used, the glide time adds up. If used individually, the glide time equals the gate time. In the basis sequencer's second row, you can adjust the pitch of each step, and that's easy to understand. So I still kind of need some work on that glide. Try to understand what specifically determines it. So let me play with some presets and try and study it a bit here. Alright, let's turn off all the other components. let's see if I can X out. See, why didn't that glide? Maybe I gotta go down. Okay, okay. All right, so this one played regular eighth note, and then I changed the value here. I'm just wondering, will this uh, change if I don't set a different time before, or a different pitch rather? Let's see. Okay, no. So essentially, every time you use these notes on the right, they're going to pitch up or down. Let's see if this is true. Okay, well I did that before, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. So it seems like, let's see if I connect another one. Is it going to go down? Yeah, cool. What if I just want to tie a long note together, like a sustained? Yeah, I guess we would do that. Let me go up an octave, or let me go up an octave here. All right. Okay, that's interesting, because why isn't this middle note changing? Oh, well, it's not changing because it's in between, and so it's tied. I understand. Okay, that makes sense. So if I wanted to maybe create some separation, I wonder if I add smaller values, will it change? We're about to find out. Yeah, okay. So when does it begin to tie? Is it here? No, it's all the way. Okay, so when you get there, now it becomes official. Yep. Okay, good to know. Oh, that's interesting, because this is a tied note, if I can call it that, and it goes into a shorter value, but it changes the whole thing, the whole rhythmic sequence. Pretty interesting. Okay, so that makes sense. Definitely a little bit weird for me. Um, yeah, but it works, and I'm stoked about it. And by the way, I use the generator quite a lot. I just get some ideas. And yeah, we haven't even talked about these amazing features here. They've got a great filter on board. Let's make it a minor scale. Let me change this. Anyway, it's pretty spellbound just when you kind of get lost in it. So that's pretty great. Let's see, we got the bass going. All right, now we're in effects mode. You can switch on and off the effects section for all three inputs: slicer, bass, and beat in the header. Modify each effect by moving the sliders next to the effect icons in the upper half of the screen, or just use the graphic representation as an XY pattern. All right, so I'll go ahead and take that suggestion. I'm going to go to effects, going to turn it on. Let's do for the slicer and the bass. Wow, okay, you know what? Let me just do the drums, because here's before. Not the drums, the slicer. And then here's with the effects. Okay, if I wanted to change the level of the verb, here's the slider. Just bring that all the way down. I can determine the size of the room, how small it is. Okay, that's pretty cool. A little bit of delay on there. Here, I'm just curious. Wow, possibilities are unreal. Again, I use this a lot. And there's a little dice up here on the left of the effects tab. Let's read what that does. The effect parameters have their own random button. The cube icon with the 3 arrows on the left of the parameter section will give you random effect settings across the board. Alright, so random across settings, random effect settings rather, across the board. Let's check this out. Okay, so that's changing some stuff this way. I wonder how they program this. Like, what is it determined to? It's pretty fascinating. Or you could just do the whole thing. And then also, I wonder if this one and this one are the same. All right, let's hear what we got. Let's bring in the drums. Yeah, sounds pretty great, huh? Okay, so let's see. That was number 6. Let's do 2 more, and then we'll take a break. Create varying patterns. Each of the pattern keys in the footer represents one of the 16 different patterns. In each one, you can load an individual sample and use different setups for slicer, bass, beat, and effects. So you can vary the patterns, and they can all change. You can change the pattern, the effects, the uh, the, the the MIDI slices. You know, you can change everything. Enter the global clipboard with copy and paste. You can transfer a complete setup from one pattern key to another. We went over that as well. Reset and random will also affect all of these, so handle with care. And remember, there's an undo button if anything goes wrong, which it will. Just giving you the heads up. It most certainly will. Alright, one more. Pattern part song buttons. The 3 buttons in the lower right hand corner are the key to the pattern sequencer. Switch between pattern, part, and song mode and create varying parts of different patterns. The part and song sequencers are useful for quick arrangements in EGOIST, from quickly changing mayhem to song-like harmonic involvements with verses, bridges, and chorus. Alright, that's easy to understand. It's just about going from part to part, right? We're not talking pattern anymore. So a part can consist of pattern 1, 4, 6, and 8, or just one, right? And so the part is a bit bigger. Think of it like a chord progression, if you will. Each part, A through F, can consist of up to 16 different patterns, which can be arranged in the part sequence. So here, let's see what they're talking about. We're here. A through F can have 16 patterns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here, does that extend out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wonder what this is. I haven't played with this yet. Let me play this and see how it's affecting it. Okay, so yeah, this is the step rate for the part section, right? How quickly it transitions from note to note. This thing is absolutely incredible. I've never seen a tool like this. Really, really cool. A great feature of EGOIST is the complete autonomy of each pattern. So each pattern can contain a different sample, slicing setup, individual bass, beat, and effects. Use the global clipboard. We talked about that. In song mode, one step up in the hierarchy, you can arrange the 6 parts in 16 steps. So the 6 parts, A through F, in a song format. Obviously great for live performers, but who knows? This may just be a great composition and idea generator tool for you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that first part. We're going to go through the whole thing. Not kidding you. So we'll take a quick break and then we'll bring it back. All right, team. I am back. Back at it, back at it. Eddie Gray here. Let's go ahead and get right back into it. We're on page 9, EGOIST by SUGARBYTES. I love this program. Just to recap, this is where we are. This is what we've built thus far. Alright, so let me make sure that you guys are actually, yeah, you're actually getting that sound. I love it. Okay, page number 9. Here we go. The header. So we've got a play button right here, an undo and redo. Very important to note. A big portion of the time that I was spending on the program, I didn't know there was an undo button, and that wasted a lot of time. There are presets, which are also important, so you could learn the program. So the presets are all right here. Again, distinguish presets from the samples, two different things. Here are the undo and redo buttons. We have a tempo that sets the global step resolution. Here are all the time signatures, so that's right there. And to change this, it's a little different. Usually you click and hold and drag up and down. Well, here it's left and right. So at 16th, at a 16th note division, it sounds like this, right? And so if I do that halftime, let's do 8th note division. You know, and I could see myself just kind of going from this to something faster. I'm curious, actually, if I copy these settings, here are the global settings, and I copy and then I paste that on 3. I'm curious to see if I change this to 16th note, they should all be different, right? Let's see. Here's the first one. Yeah, this program is deep. I'm not sure if you caught that. Alright, essentially I took the pattern from pattern 1 here and I copied it over to pattern 3, but not only did I change, you know, the pattern, but I also changed the tempo, which means that you can change everything on here. Swing, you can add effects. These are all standalone patterns. Really amazing. Alright, let's keep going here. So the duration of one step is either a quarter note, an eighth, or a 16th. Each of the sequencers allows to individually divide the clock, which we were just talking about. The swing function moves each second step of your rhythm off the grid to create a swinging movement. So in the case of this pattern, every second 4, 6, 8 is moved over off the grid, so you get that bounce. Let's see, here's the mixer section. To bypass, each engine can be switched on and off. Again, that also was one of the reasons why I decided to read this manual and share it with you, is because, you know, sometimes you're making these really simple mistakes that you don't have to make, you know. Route each section through the effects sequencer by clicking the effects button. So that's pretty simple. And here on the right, a master volume and level meter. There is something to note here. I'll highlight this, and that is the master output can be influenced by the max out EGOIST settings page. So if I go to the settings page here and I turn on max out, what's going to happen is the signal will kind of be run through a limiter, so it'll sound really loud. So I'll go ahead and A/B that for you. Check it out. Alright, and then without it. So you can see that it's just not as crunchy, as intense, right? Here's before. Here's with. Yeah, a little compressed. I like to leave it off because I want to do the treatment myself, but I could see in a live performance setting where that would work. Alright, so the footer, you can switch between pattern, part, and song mode via the 3 buttons. So that's a very key distinction, as we have been talking about here. And sometimes if there's something really important, I'll take, let's see if I can do this here. You know, something like that. Actually, I'll do that later. Here we go. Pattern and keys. Here, let me get off of here. In its default state, which is pattern mode, the footer displays the 16 pattern keys. Each pattern contains a complete and autonomous setup in the slicing engine, beat, bass effects, and the controls in the header. So again, the possibility for making patterns and then creating parts, think of verses, choruses, and then creating a song, an arrangement. Access each of the 16 patterns by hitting the pattern's key, the pattern keys 1 through 16. So how do you do that? Remember that you have to have your EGOIST settings here on external, and then I can hit trigger 1 by accessing MIDI note C1. Okay, if I go up to C#1, you can see I'm going up to 3, 4. So this is just, you're going up chromatically. Look at the blue numbers. Okay, all right, pretty easy. Where is the manual? What happened to the manual? Jeez Louise, hold on. Hang tight. Here we go. All right. In external mode, the patterns will always start at the current song position. Let's see, what does it say here? When the clock is set to internal, the pattern will start playing from the beginning unless you play legato. So let's see here. Oh, and this is what I was just talking about. The pattern keys are mapped from C1 upwards. A note will start the pattern. When the clock is set to internal, the pattern will start playing from the beginning unless you play legato. Well, let's check that out. Let's go to internal and see what they're talking about. Okay, so just trying to figure out what their point was. So with external, obviously you're following the clock of logic, right? The pattern is synced to a MIDI clock or something where they're connected together. But with internal, the pattern will start playing from the very beginning. So regardless of the play position, so let's just say the playhead is moving, regardless of when I hit the note, then the pattern will always play from the beginning. And so that's the difference between internal and external. If the clock option is set to external host start, EGOIST will sync to your host start. So when you press the play in your DAW, the pattern will start wherever your host clock is at this point in time. I wouldn't do it this way, but you can see a world where this can possibly exist. So if I press spacebar, it's just starting, right? I guess you could have that function, and then in your DAW you can just bring it down, this kind of thing, and then it cuts out, the drums come in or something else happens, and then we're back. Yeah, so I can see that being but yeah, that's just not my taste, so I'll just go external. As much control as I can have over the sesh, I want it. Vary existing patterns. You can transfer content and settings from the one pattern to another. We've established that. Use the global clipboard or the sequencer clipboard to transfer individual sequencer populations. Okay, so let's look at that. Global clipboard and sequencer clipboard. Where are you? Okay, so the sequencer clipboard is right here. So again, copy, paste, delete settings, randomize, and then nudge or shift your step sequencer. So again, if I just move these around, you'd be surprised how much they can actually affect a pattern. I'm always blown away. All right, and then it looks like you have the same settings here right below, and this would account for pitch. So if I hit the randomize, for example, you can see there are a lot different settings now. Here, check this out. Right, and so this is strictly for pattern 1. So if I hit another pattern, you're not going to hear that. Let me undo that. All right, great. And then the global settings are down here at the bottom here. So we have copy, paste, exit out, or randomize. And I'm curious, does this change everything, like all around, including pattern number 2? And here, I'm just going to check this out. I want to just Okay, so this one has... Looks like it just changed everything for this specific pattern, not all the rest. And let me corroborate that one sec. Yeah. So it changes everything within the one pattern. Just want to be clear. If we're going to do this, let's do our research proper. Okay, very existing patterns. We talked about that the global clipboard will copy all engines, effect setup, and all sequencer populations to another pattern. Okay. So for example, I've got this here. If I go copy, we go to pattern number 4, we paste, and then now these are the same. Okay, I'll randomize just the pitch on the second, and now we have this. And so of course that could be kind of fun, right? Going back and forth. Yeah, this thing is magic. I love it. I love it. This is certainly going to be a part of my arsenal. When direct pattern change is off, pattern change will only occur after the old pattern has finished playing. When on, it will react immediately if you switched to another pattern. Where do I find direct pattern change? Go to page 26. Should we do that? Here, let me write myself a note. I don't want to space out. You go page 10 here. And then just by hovering the mouse over direct, it's going to take us to another page. I don't know what that is, and so I don't want to miss anything. So the screenshot there shows the sequencer clipboards for the slice arranger, pitch controls, and step settings. Yep, global clipboards on the bottom, as we have corroborated. Okay, so this is part of that. When off, switching between patterns will only be executed after the old pattern has finished. Okay, so direct pattern change. Let's look at that really quick. That can be found here. Okay, so when this is off, it says here, when you switch between the patterns, it's only going to happen after the other pattern has finished. So I personally wouldn't want to use that. I could see that being very relevant in a live performance settings, but I'm good. Let me see, is there a faster way to go to page 10 here? I'm sure there is, I just don't know it. All right, we're back in part mode here, top right, page 11. Switch to part mode to create up to 6 different pattern progressions. All right, so here's part mode. Let's check it out. The part will start playback with any MIDI note. Each part can contain up to 8 patterns. All right, so here is part A, and if I go back to pattern, I have a couple patterns laid out. Here's 1, 2, 3, and then 4. 1 and 3, I believe, are the same. So let me go ahead and change it somehow. What can I do? You know what? I'll change the sample. I'm just gonna go to the next preset, whatever it is. Okay, so maybe I'll live with that. Let's see what that sounds like. Oh, what did I do? Jeez. Okay. Maybe when I hit randomize, it will go. I don't remember. This is kind of part of the thing with the program, though, man. It has, again, a mind of its own. Hold on. Okay. All right. So that makes sense. All right. So now 1, 2, 3, 4 are all separate patterns. They all sound different. Let's go back to part. And so you can see I'm going to create a sequence based on 4 measures here. And so I'm going to have 1, I'm going to have 2, I'm going to have 3 here, and then I'm going to have 4 right there. And so now when I perform this part, now we'll hear this entire thing in sequence. So let me press play. So there's 1, here's 2, 3. Okay, now this is why I personally would not really use it this way. I could see it being, you know, an arranging tool, or perhaps to remind you of some changes that you want to make, but I would just use it like this. And so that would be, you know, would require some diligence, because now I would have to think about the pattern and see. The way that I work, I like to work fast, so I would just go here and I would just start recording it. Alright, and then of course you would just start doing some MIDI editing that works out in your favor. If there's any fat, one of the things you could do is you can control click and you can say trim note to the following note, and it should just kind of chop it up. Let's hear this back. Yeah, so that would be my bag, but I totally understand if you want to try something else. I just kind of wanted to explore some options. So let's see. Each part can contain up to 8 patterns. So we go back to part. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Part A has 8 patterns. Part B can also have 8, etc. You can also determine the time. In other words, how fast these play out. So that's interesting. Let's look into that a little bit. Part tempo determines the duration of one step in the part sequencer. 16 means one part step lasts for 16 sequencer steps. Okay, fantastic. Make use of different part tempi, unless they that was a typo. The part tempo can be defined specifically for each of the 6 parts, A through F. Good, we covered that. So part A could run each pattern for 2 steps, part B for 4 steps, C for 8. Yeah, so just to reiterate, this one can be this long, B could be 4, this could be 6, etc. Easy sample. Since each pattern can contain a different sample, this feature allows you to easily create fast breaks and unconventional tempo changes. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I love the program. Loop bar, you can define the length of each part with the loop bar indicators in the part arranger when the sequencer reaches the end part loop. It will proceed to the next part. Yep, roger that. And song mode, arrange the parts A through F in up to 16 steps. All right, common theme. So here's 16. And so if I wanted section, let's say B to come right after section A, I would just click and drag up. Okay. What else? Yep, so there's 6 different parts and they're all accessible here. So you can now create a song in essence. Alright, if I wanted to delete that, just hit, nope. You cannot delete that. So I guess you would have to just arrange these manually. I thought the global clipboard would affect it, but it doesn't. I just saw, yeah, everything's, and actually that's probably for the better. That could be very confusing. As in part mode, make use of the loop bar. As with the patterns, part and song start per MIDI note. When triggering part and song per MIDI, we recommend setting the clock source on EGOIST settings to internal. Right? Yeah, if you're triggering it with MIDI, they recommend you go internal. This seems to be working for me. I'm not sure what the difference between internal and external is. Here, can I record on internal? Let's check this out. Yeah, it looks like I can. Something is different there. I'm not sure what there's something, because I was playing the same notes I played here, but you can hear this is different. Listen. Oh, wait a minute. Geez, okay. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I was playing with the pattern, and looks like I changed it too much. So let me go back to pattern 4. Okay, hold on. So this is D sharp 1. Let me go back here. Let's go internal. Okay, it seems like it's playing everything right. Let me record it just to be sure. Yeah, it looks like that's going well. I'm truly not sure what the difference is between those two, and let's see. We will find out. Um, I've been working under external. Not sure how that differs, but we will get there. We will get there. Okay, so slice key. This is pretty interesting. A funky feature, you can play any of the 16 steps, including effects, if switched on. This turns EGOIST into a slice keyboard. So this could be the sole reason that you use it. This is kind of why I use it. I also like some of the arrangement things you can do as well. Try using the same slice on different steps and vary the pitch and effect setup using the 16 available patterns. You can have 16 different slice keyboards and 16 different samples at hand. Hit the piano keys on the left of the footer. Each of the 16 keys will now trigger the slice on the respective step of the slicing engine. Slice keys are mapped from C3. When slice keys are activated, pattern keys can still be triggered starting from C1. Okay. So, let me play. Alright, let me hit this. So then now, each of the slices will now be available here. Oh, okay. So I see what's going on. I'm hitting C, but I'm activating patterns. If I want to play the MIDI notes, I believe I have to go to another register. Yeah. So now I'm hitting C3, and you can see that I'm activating each and every slice. So it gets redundant after slice 4. So what they're saying is you can change the pitch of each and every one of these. So so if you wanted to change this up by 2, this one up by 3, this one up by 4, you understand what they're saying? You could have the same sample and just change it up. Yeah. Alright, so that makes sense. Great, great. Hit the piano keys. So remember, it's going to be on a different register. Like, oh, there it is right there. Sometimes I get ahead of myself here, and you have to read exactly what it is and then apply. Okay, so slice keys are mapped from C3. When slice keys are activated, pattern keys can still be triggered starting from C1. So you've got pattern keys, really good distinction, and slice keys. So let's go ahead and highlight that. And pattern keys. That's a really good distinction right there. Alright, pattern selector selects the patterns that you wish to play. MIDI learn the arrows in the pattern selector. This is giving you 16 playable slice keyboards complete with settings, effects, extremely handy for live purposes. So I guess right here, if you right click, you can MIDI learn, so you can switch over to wait, what is it switching though? Playable slice keyboards. So then now you get 16 playable sliced keyboards. Jeez, man. The gift that keeps on giving. Okay, so let me just... This is... Oh, right. Oh, I see what's going on. So this is pattern 2, pattern 3, but you have these sliced keyboards. Right here's pattern 4. Yeah, okay, got it. And so, for those of you who are Logic users, this is very much like the new quick sampler. See if I could find that. Except a lot more volatile and a lot more interesting. In all fairness, here, let me see if I could pull this up quick. No, we're not. Oh man, we got to do this, man. Oh, here, let's just look for it. It's got the slicer mode, but man, this thing is just so much more intense. It's got so many more features, right? So it's like this guy. there are some comparisons, but you know, truly not the same thing. And of course, there are things here in Logic's Quick Sampler which make it a little bit more um, you know, fun to use in its own right. And so there is no right or wrong. I just really felt enthusiastic about sharing, and I figured somebody else might want to walk through it as well. So that was my main intention here. All right, let's go over the slicer. We're on page 13 here. It goes over some basic steps, many which we've already talked about. So I'm just going to kind of go over this quickly here. You can load audio content through the sample browser. It looks like it works with a lot of different formats: WAV, AIFF, MP3. Good to know. Importing MP3 on Macs will only work on 10.7 or higher. Roger that. Oops, hold on. Open the sample browser to access the factory content or load your own sample. I also found that you could just drag it in. I wish they had said that when I first got it. Let me see if I could show you what I mean. Move some screen real estate around here. Yeah, so like if I just wanted to drag here. Just grab this guy. See? And now you got a new pattern. Man, you just get this great music out of the box, like without even trying. That was pretty cool. All right. So let's keep it moving here. Load the sample. You can pre-listen, as we've talked about. You can define custom folders. That's important. So if I want to, let's say, find a folder that sits inside of, you know, of the sample browser, I could find a folder somewhere in my let's say, let me do, oh, you know what? I got one that I really like. If you haven't heard these really nice loops by Output, they're a great company. Man, they just always work. They're really fantastic. So then I can go to custom folder number 3, and now you can start playing around here. Check this out. Wait, this is sample 2. Alright. So it looks like it didn't even write any slices. There we go. And you know what? I should isolate this because I don't want you to miss what's happening. So I just drag this in from those loops and look at what we got now. So again, let's say that I want to change that. I'm going to randomize. Here we go. Yeah, beautiful. I love it. All right, let's keep going here. We've defined custom folders, sliced the sample. There's a zoom bar. The smaller waveform display on top is showing the full sample. Use the blue indicators to zoom into the sample. Slicing will only happen with the selected zoom. The zoom bar also shows the slicing points to make it easier to work with longer samples. Mouse wheel sets the starting point. Okay, so let's look at the there's a way to zoom here, I guess. Oh, check that out. I didn't know that. All right, so maybe you don't want this entire thing sampled. You just want the first portion. If I randomize the slice, now we're just working with this beginning part here. Check that out. So you can see that because some of these are set to slices that are above 4, I've only got 4 slices. It's not playing them, right? Listen. Okay, so that's cool. But what if I wanted to get 16 slices inside of here? Well, then I go and raise up the sensitivity slider all the way up, and it looks like I got 11. And let's listen to this. Alright, and if you want to force the 16, I assume you hit this blue button here that says 16 slices. Here we go. Oh, wait. And again, if you didn't want that to play out, you want to play the parts, you just hit the keyboard, and now we're rocking and rolling. Wait, hold on. Don't you have to... Oh, so I was on C1. Yeah, so you gotta remember. Alright, good. So yeah, just getting used to that workflow for me, you know, being on one register and then being on another. So yeah, maybe, you know, keeping in the back of your head, when I want to play the slicer individually, I have to go back to C3, and if we start playing with parts, I'm back to C1. Alright. This is a pretty good manual, pretty clear overall. The mouse wheel sets the starting point. That, I'm not sure what that means. Which mouse wheel sets what starting point? The orange slicing point defines the last slice. Okay, that's good to know. I was always wondering why that last one was that way. I'm just not sure what the mouse wheel sets the starting point means. Yeah, not sure. I don't know if it has to do something with that. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Maybe this, but not sure. So anyway, let's keep moving. Click in the waveform screen to launch individual slices or move the slicing points manually. Check that out. I did not know you can do that. So here, let me go to pattern 1. So I can move this slice, I guess. How would I understand you can trigger it. I'm doing that right now, just by clicking on the mouse. But how do I... Oh, okay. Well, that's moving the marker, though. It's not moving the... How do you do that? Or move the... Oh, okay. So you're not moving the sample per se. You're moving the slicing points. So usually this can be referred to as a marker. You hear that a lot, like a transient marker, flex marker. You can also drag and drop audio files into the... Yeah. Okay, we talked about that. Let's highlight that. Cool. EGOIST uses a multi-band transient slicing engine. A higher sensitivity will give you more slices. Roger that. Slice controls. Induce auto slicing. Start the slicing engine by clicking or moving the sensitivity meter. Random creates random slices of random length. Yep, we went over pretty much all that. Global slicer settings. Okay, so we got the pitch. Let's say you wanted this to... Hold on. Okay. Say you wanted this as a whole to be lower, right? I could... Hold on. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to reduce the pitch by 1 octave. So let's go here. I wonder if I can double click here. Nope. You got to do it with the slider. And so now that's 1 octave down. Alright. We have a envelope shaper. What is this? The release? What do they call it here? The length. Global settings to influence the measured duration of each slice. The length of each slice is the time base for the envelopes, which controls the amplitude. Length scale is relative to the full duration of each slice. So here, let's turn off some of these other... Okay, and let's listen. Alright, so you hear that these samples are kind of short. So now let me make them a little shorter so you can really hear it. So you're really just working with the gate here. And if I want to increase that, it sounds like this. Okay, and then now we're working with the envelope, or the looks like not the ADSR, but just the D and the H. So let's listen to this. In other words, when it decays, is it going to fall off pretty quickly, or is it going to carry on for a while? Listen. So this gives you a lot of flexibility to really shape it the way you want. This is a nice combo. And then here, is this a volume control? Maybe a compressor. Here, let's check it out. Max out is a juicy limiter, normalizing the slicer output. So yeah, you got a limiter, which is a compressor. It makes sense to use these dials to create an initial setup. Here, let me just hear the limiter. All right, so what you're hearing here is when this slider is all the way at 0, you have dynamics. You know, there are different levels. There are slices that are being played, but in different ways. So as soon as we drag it over all the way to the far right, every single slice, every single sample will be exactly the same. Listen, here's a lot of dynamics. Some are louder, some are quieter, and then if I raise this up all the way, they're all going to be the same. I can see myself using that a lot personally. The slice settings, attack, decay, and level. Okay, so now we're talking about the amplitude of each slice. So we can manipulate the attack, define how long it takes for the volume of each slice to go from silence to maximum. The decay, so how long it holds and fades out, and then the level. Ooh, okay. So to my point here, I'm going to raise the first, or rather, let me make quiet, like everything after this. I'll have to undo this or just randomize after. But here, listen to this. Okay, so you see what's happening, right? And something we haven't talked about, which I'm sure is going to come up, is the playback features. This can play forward, reverse, forward and reverse, or randomized. So if I just hit that one right there, which is forward, listen. Okay, so then now if I use that limiter, all of those notes or lack thereof will be the same. So yeah, I can see that being absolutely pivotal, no question. All right, and so again, you can play with the attack here, so you can shave off the initial attack of a note. Like if I do that here, you'll really hear it. Check it out. Right, there was no attack. You don't hear the first transient. All right, and then same thing with decay. You're playing with kind of the gate, if you will. So let me do long decays here, long decays. Okay, and then I'm going to take that away. Right, you couldn't even hear them because we took them away. Let me just do a very fast delay here, or decay. Right, you can kind of hear now. Alright, cool. That makes sense. Let me randomize some of these features. Good, 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 and good. Let's go to sequencer, clipboard. Oh, actually, wait. One more thing worth noting. If you have max out on and you have level, looks like max out will override the specific per step level setting. So that's cool. Step parameters have a huge influence on the groove of your slicing sequence. So try screening arrangements with the random function. All right. Sounds good. Use the sequencer clipboard to copy paste setups between the different patterns for random populations or to nudge the values in the matrix. Different patterns. Yep. Okay. So use the sequencer clipboard. So we're starting to get a handle on this. I will admit, I still feel like it's a beast. Let's cover one more section, and then yeah, maybe we'll take a break after that, right before the bass. All right, sequencer clipboard. EGOIST contains 4 sequencer-based engines, so we know that. the slicer, the bass, the beats, and the effects. In each of these 4 sections, you'll find these clipboard controls, which we've already talked about: copy and paste, resetting, randomize, and then left, right, up, and down. Up and down we haven't talked about. Let's say you wanted to raise the value of the slice so that 14 became 13, or 2 became 1, 8 became 7. You could do that right here. So that's kind of nice. I mean, it truly is a tool for experimentation. And then there's a plus minus, scroll across 16 ready-made beats, beats section only. And that we covered as well, where you can kind of move yourself along here. Okay. Global clipboard. You can start working from scratch in each pattern, or you can copy and paste existing work from one pattern to another. In the lower right hand corner of each tab, you'll find the global clipboard, transfer settings from one pattern to another. Yep, we've been over this. All parameters, the sample content, and the slicer setup are pattern specific. Copy, then switch to another pattern key on the bottom of the page and paste. Sequencer mousing. Horizontal slide, populate multiple cells with identical values. Okay, so it looks like you can, we're moving into this section, but if you wanted to click and drag, right? No. Oh. Okay. So you looks like you can change values, not these sequencer sliders, but these, just by clicking and dragging to the right. I'm not finding it works that well, to be honest. Okay. Let's see. Populate multiple cells with identical values by... Oh, okay, got it. So they have to be of identical value. Let's see if it works with 11. Still doesn't work with the sequencer, but I could see it like if I go... Yep, okay, so if I have -8 selected and I click and I go to the right. Okay, beautiful. Same thing here. I've got... you know, let's do an octave down, and I just click and drag to the right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that workflow. Pretty nice. Does it work with attack? It works with attack. Does it work with decay? It works with decay. Does it work with level? It works with level. Just not the step. I wonder why. I'm really curious. If you didn't know, you can also mute these so that the pattern is not playing that slice. So that's good. Mouse wheel. The mouse wheel will vertically toggle the value. Oh, okay, cool. So if I go here, let's say I click on this. What mouse wheel? Are they referring to like a magic mouse? Hold on, let me see something. Okay, I see what's going on. So I'm scrolling using my trackpad. Let me try another. Not sure what's going on here. No. Yeah. I don't get that one. I'm getting some real aberrant behavior, so I'll leave that one up to you. Blank a cell by right-clicking on it. So let's see if you want to... Yep, if you want to mute something. I don't believe you have to... Oh, I see what they're saying. If you want to remove a value from here, if you just right click, you can remove or set them back to their default state. Roger that. Let me see if that's true with... Yeah. Okay, cool. That's a nice workflow. Alright, and then now we're on page 18, and I think this is where I will be getting off for now. I will see you on the next ride. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep your frequency high. We'll talk soon. Alright, team, we are back to talk about bass. Let's get right into it. So let's go back to pattern 1 and let's add some bass. So with the bass, we have a wave, filter types right here, cutoff, resonance, modulation amount, pretty cool, decay or LFO rate. So we'll see how that works. Is it one or the other? I guess depending on what you choose, but we'll see. Drive and then amp decay. So the sequencer is here, and you can choose major or minor. Here, let me just check something really quick. So here you have all your presets, and then you can create your own presets. So how do you create sounds with the bass engine? So the classic choice between saw and square. So saw is all harmonics, square is odd harmonics. The frequency of your wave is defined by the root, note, scale, and pitch settings in the sequencer. So depending on which root note you have, which scale, which pitch setting, that's the frequency of your wave. Frequency of your wave is defined by the root note. Alright, so the sequencer has something to do with that. So depending on what pitch you set there in the sequencer, what scale you use, major or minor, and the pitch settings. So that's cool. Here's scale. To make sure your pitch is always in tune with your big picture, we added the scale feature, providing a major and an aeolic or natural minor scale. That's awesome. Alright, filter type. So we've got 3 different kinds of low-pass filters. The first is a interpretation of a 303, which basically is some kind of filter, I suppose. If you're looking for that resonant and sharp sound, they all sound great to me. The one in the middle there is a Moog filter, 24 dB octave ladder filter, better known as the Moog filter. And then of course the MS20, our diode filter with 12 dB octave, mostly associated with the MS20 filter. Okay, cool. Cutoff and resonance, you can define the cutoff frequency, which is emphasized by the resonance. So let's hear that. Cutoff and resonance. I should probably, yeah, let's take everything else out and let's create a cycle region. I just want to play just the one. Let me see if I can isolate this. Just the one. And then, yeah, okay, here we go. On pattern 2, part playing, oh, okay, good. 16 patterns. This we have pattern 111. Let's go 1-1. Let's see what that sounds like. And the song should be A. Alright, let's see what this sounds like. Here, let me take that off. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Resonance sounds nice. Let's start with modulation amount and see what that does to the pattern. Maybe because the notes aren't long enough. So here, let's do something like this. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do something like that. This one looks dimmed. Why is it dim? Something that's maybe I can't see. Why can't I see that part? There we go. So, come on. Something here about muting. Yeah, I spaced out on this part. Something you could do to mute a track. I forgot what it was. Anyway, we'll get there. So let's go back to see was it part. Yeah, here we go. And let's listen to this. Yeah, so still kind of finding my way in terms of generating. I was trying to create something more legato here. It seemed like the notes weren't working, so I put in a different sample or preset, and then I started getting the modulation I was looking for. So here, I'm going to turn down the LFO. So let's just listen to modulation now. So that's pretty cool. I like how that opens up. So it looks like you're choosing between a sawtooth and a square wave. Not sure what this does yet. And then again, you can choose if you want to start with the sawtooth or a square as your source. So let's listen to that here. And then if you wanted, you could open up the filter by using cutoff. Man, that Moog filter sounds insane, huh? Let's play with the LFO rate. So now I'll put the modulation at 0. And let's listen to that LFO. I'm really curious. Let's see. There you go. Can you hear it now? Yeah, you can't really hear it unless you change the filter type, so just be aware of that. It sounds really nice. It's a nice color. It's a nice texture. Drive, we all know what that's going to do. And let's check out amp decay as well here. Okay, so that is where you get the sustain. See, that's a little confusing to me. Amp decay, I guess it makes sense, the decay of the volume, but I would think of that more like sustain or release. You know, sustain when the notes are connected, legato, and then release when you let go, and you get that aftertouch effect, you know, after you touch a piano. But still, regardless, it works. I understand it now. And then I guess you can modify the behavior there as well. Let's check that out here. Yeah. So yeah, when you enable this, it's a bit more joined together, a bit more legato. Sounds really nice. Cool. Really nice features. Pretty easy to use once you kind of understand it. The LFO was the only one that, you know, to me was minimal. But again, it could be the source sound as well. Let's try one more. Okay, so you see what happened there was I had the LFO rate too high. I was trying to like listen to some 16, 30-second notes. But yeah, it worked out a lot better when I backed off and now we get this sound. Yeah, this thing is a beast, right? I mean, the limitations kind of force you to make beautiful, great sounding stuff. So, all right, cool. Let's keep this going. We talked about the filters, modulation. Let's see here. Switch your cutoff modulation source between the envelope and an LFO. Okay, so switch your cutoff modulation source between the envelope and an LFO. When you use LFO, regulate the intensity and the LFO waveform, sine or square with the modulation amount crossfader. Okay, so when you use LFO as your source, let me make sure source. Okay, so this one is LFO. And then the other one is envelope. Gotcha. And then sine or square. Okay, then we choose one of one of these. Okay, let me see that. It is fantastic and definitely more intuitive. Like, you know, obviously it's good to read the words and gest them, but then it's really your body and the tactile feel that'll begin to understand what's happening there. Decay or LFO rate, the fader right next to the modulation crossfader, so that one. Adjust the decay. Roger that. When using LFO, you can define the LFO's rate between 100 hertz, 0.1, and 30 hertz. Oh wait, does that mean 0. Okay, no, I'm sorry. 0.1 hertz and 30 hertz. Got it. Drive over the limit to produce asymmetric soft clipping, creating warm sounding even order harmonics and a saturated sound. All right, that sounds good. And then the amp decay experiment with different decay times of the bass notes. Release mode. Use the release mode to have your notes sound longer than the step time. If release is off, the amp and mod envelopes will cut off after the step time is over. So if release is off, the amp and modulation envelope will cut off after the step time is over. With the release on, the notes can only be cut off by upcoming notes because the bass is monophonic. Okay, so that's worth noting right there. You know, I'm not trying to understand everything. I just want to get a sense of what things are, so when, you know, we're in the session, we can get to work, we can let loose a little bit and let our hands, let our brains, and then let our hearts and souls do the work, right? Alright, so we got a preset browser. As explained before, you can add bass notes in the top row of the bass sequencer. Pick from 4 different lengths. Quarter step, so quarter note, half step, half note, almost a full step, and a tie. Okay, so if we look at this diagram right here, these are normal steps with gate times. Here's a glided step that moves up or down depending on your pitch or octave setting. Tied steps is one long note, and then tied glide steps, one long glide. Oh, okay, so that's how you create a long glide. That makes a lot of sense right there. Let me X out of here. In fact, let me just, hold on. Let's just turn, see, yeah, let's turn these off. Notice that workflow too, guys. I just clicked on, you know, either an empty or a populated step, and then I click and drag right or left, and then that should kind of do it in terms of being able to populate the step sequencer. So I'm going to click on this one right here, and I want ties, and I want to go all the way across. Hold on. Okay. And now I want to listen to this. I'm curious what this sounds like. One sec. Hmm. Okay. I think I understand this. So I'm going to play a note right here, and it'll just be a quick staccato note. It's going to be a high octave, okay? And I believe that's going to kind of set the bar, the standard. And then what'll happen here is I've got a glide tied note or selection here all the way across. And then I'm going to select the octave so that it's um, down an octave, and then hopefully this will kind of determine that behavior. I don't know. We're going to try it. Let's see. Yeah. And then again. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Wow, I don't know if I would have got that without really taking the time. So you have to have a kind of a note that determines the overall behavior, and then you can start sequencing out. Right? So here I have the first note, and then I can glide down, 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 down. If I go up, I believe that irregardless of these, settings here, this is going to go up now. Check it out. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What happened here? Oh. Well, okay. Well, I don't know what happened there. Now it sounds all funky. But let me just switch presets and start over. All right, great. Let's keep moving here. Tie. If the steps are graphically connected, bottom entries of the bass note menu, they will tie. If the steps are graphically connected, they will tie. The glide notes. These are the forked steps in the right column of the bass note menu. If tied glide notes are being used, the glide time adds up. If used individually, the glide time equals the gate time. That's an interesting point. The glide time equals the gate time. So yeah, I guess depending on how short or long it is. Okay, made some progress here. It looks like on top of the basic stuff with pitch and octaves, you can use the sequencer clipboard as we've talked about before to copy and paste. Here's the best part. Remember the sequencer mousing? Well, I figured out what it was. So you can actually use your mouse. I have an interesting mouse that has a roller. So when I hover over any one of these steps, you can also do this in Slicer, and you just roll up or down. You can see that I'm changing the pitch there, and here I'm changing the octave merely by rolling up or down. So that's pretty amazing behavior. Again, same thing goes here. You could just play with those. This one doesn't seem as intuitive. But you know, here it works out pretty well. So anyway, that's that. And then something else I just read there is that you can fine tune the bass on the EGOIST settings tab, which I did not know as well. So they have a master tune and then a fine tune for just the bass. So if I'm playing the bass and you, let's say you need to bring it down a couple of cents, and that's really neat because these things aren't always going to line up and match up, right? Sometimes you're going to need a little bit of reinforcement, and so this is a really phenomenal feature. They also have that on the master level in case the part doesn't really fit your song. Sometimes these synthesizers are detuned a little bit, and so yeah, just big ups to EGOIST and SUGARBYTES for just doing their due diligence. What an incredible manual. I'm going to stop right here. We'll get back at it. We're on page 21 of a total of 28 pages, so we're almost done. All right, team? All right, we will talk soon. Take good care of yourselves, and we'll cover these beats when we get back. All right, cheers. What's up, team? All right, so we got the bass. Now let's get into beats. Each of the 10 drum and percussion kits has 32 kick drums, 32 snares, and 32 hi-hats. So a construction kit of 32 possibilities. Now, of course, you can mix and match those, right? So in other words, I can have, let's call it construction kit number 1 on the far left here, and I can have the snare from construction kit number 5, the hi-hat from construction kit number 20, and then the kick from construction kit number 1. And so that can, you know, be one thing, right? One setup, if you will. And then here in the, I don't know the name of this, but the all drums button, or, you know, square, if I click and drag up, that will create an offset based on the numbers that I, oh wait a minute, no, it regulates, yeah, it regulates the numbers. So if I have some variables like 1, 12, and 32, and then I click and drag up, it automatically starts to, yep, come together. So that's really interesting there. All right, control loudness and pitch of each drum with the knobs in the beat section. Yeah, we've covered that. Via the drum set icon in the lower left, you can roll through the 32 drum sets in each kit. This can also be done via the controls for the individual kit. Yep, we got that. Fine tune your drum section by playing with the individual volumes. Got that. Adjust the pitch right below that. Max out, normalize the drum track, and that would be here. So when you normalize something, essentially you're just leveling everything out so that the quietest signal is, you know, louder and the loudest signal is quieter. Similar to compression. Attenuate, regulate the level of attenuation for the gentle drums. Where is that? Okay, here. Regulate the level of attenuation. Okay, I see what's going on. So for that, that's interesting. Let me pull up a beat. So we're just listening to the beat right now. Let me play the pattern. All right, I'm gonna do a lot of I'm gonna set up a lot of ghost notes here. So here you got the big snare, and here you've got the little snare, right? And then here's a big snare, here's a little snare, and so these are called ghost notes. And so I did quite a bit of those. Let me do a couple more here. And so I believe this knob allows me to kind of push down those notes so they're a little quieter in the mix. There's only a couple key select big snares, so let's listen. So you can hear the difference between the smaller ghost snares, right, and then the big snare right here. And how do I select the ghost snare? Well, you click one time, that accesses the full bodied snare, and then you click a second time, and there's the ghost snare. And so with that controller there, you can attenuate the level. So here I'm all the way down, so you'll hear a big difference. Let me remove the kick so you just are hearing the snares and the hi-hats. By the time you get to the top of the attenuation knob, there's no difference between the ghost snares and the full-bodied snares. Each kit contains 32 sets. You can combine different sets within one kit. Yep, roger that. And then the hi-hat pan on the top right. So right now the hi-hat is playing out of the left speaker or the left headphone. I'm going to move that over. Here we go. Hold on, let me remove this. Alright, pretty cool. We're on page 22. The beat sequencer. Place your drums in the beat sequencer at the bottom of the screen. Change clock division, loop length, and play direction in top row. Okay, so let's think about that. Clock division, loop length, and play direction. So I know, I guess clock division would be right here. Loop length would be right here. And then, what was the other thing? Play direction. Where would we control that? Snare. Oh, here. Okay. Clock division. Let me press play here, and then I'm going to change the division in real time. Oh, let's put the rest of the drums in there. Here, let me just sequence this. Okay. So you can see that even though it's not on, the bass sequencer is moving faster. That's because of my clock division. Let's move this and allow this to be a little bit, let's be slower or faster. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know what the values are. I guess this would be, yeah, I guess this looks like quarter notes, 1, 2. Now obviously that's contingent on your tempo, but if I go to T1, which I don't know what that means, and you can change this value just by clicking one time. So this looks like eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right? And then you got quarter notes, 3, 4, 1. This is probably, what, half notes? 1, 2. This almost has a like a triplet feel to it. And what's this? 1. Yeah, and that's a whole note there. All right, great. The playback, forward, back, back and forward, and then randomized. So that makes sense. And then the loop length. So let's change the loop length. Let's do just the first 4. Here we go. And by the way, if you ever wanted to do something, kind of weird, you could do it in 6 or 5 and create, an interesting pattern. Let's see what this sounds like. Now I'll turn on the click so you could hear it inside of 4. So here's this pattern. So essentially we're playing, 4/4 time, and we're fitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes inside of that. And so it sounds a little off-putting, but it really works, and it's a very interesting time signature, and really the making of great music overall. So this is a really cool trick. You can try 5 inside of 4 or 6 inside of 4. There's many different ways to go about it, but yeah, good stuff. All right, moving on to the effects unit. All right, so let's turn on effects, and All right, here we go. We've got filter, delay, reverb, lo-fi, chorus, tape stop, and looper. So that's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On the effects tab, there's a little Effectrix section. If you don't know, this is another one of their plugins with some down to the point settings and a sequencer area. Place one or several effects on the matrix and adjust parameters in the settings area in the upper half. Okay, the GUI will give you visual feedback when changing the settings. So here you have a little bit of the Effectrix sequencer, which is great. And then if you want to customize it, you could do that right up here, depending on how that's being affected. And so that's really nice. Nice little workflow. So if I reset this, wait, I hope I didn't. No, okay, good. I made that distinction earlier. Just because I X this out doesn't X out the settings for the bass and beat and the slicer. Oh wait, does it? Hold on. Oh, it does. Hold on, let me check this. So if I have that and I X out here, everything, okay, got it. All right, well, let's undo those two choices. You got to be real careful. I wish this had some security parameter. But anyway, inside of effects, that makes more sense. And I X out the pattern. So let's say all we wanted was maybe, let's see, loop, stop function. There's chorus, lo-fi, reverse, delay, and then filter. Let's just put a filter. Hold on. Okay, so you can see I'm occupying each step. You don't have to do it this way. I'm just really trying to make this clear. And so here I have a low pass selected, right? Here's the envelope, and I can change how this is being affected. Here's the resolution, or the resonance rather, and then here's the cutoff. So let's listen to this. So that's pretty typical, except it just looks a little bit different for those of us that are not used to this. You can adjust the image manually, or you can play with the sliders. So this is like an XY, pretty cool. And then let's say you wanted a little delay on every quarter note. It sounds absolutely incredible. I am in love with this. Just floored by the technology, and I'm so glad I'm taking the time to actually read this now. You can see that, when you do take your time and you conduct yourself like a professional, really does make the difference. I never have to learn this again, right? We've taken the time. You never have to relearn this again. Now you've done it well the first time, and you can literally integrate and utilize this tool whenever you need it. And believe me, it has many applications. If you can really pocket this, it's going to be so valuable. All right, so we talked about all the various effects. This is all basic stuff. Low pass, band pass. Let's maybe talk about some stuff that is not as common, like a comb filter. It adds a delayed version of the input, causing constructive and destructive interference. So you get two signals. That's pretty cool. Let's listen to comb filter real quick. Here we go. Let's take off the delay if that's the case, because I really want you to hear it. Whoa, what happened here? Oh, so the behavior here is a little bit different than the sequencer and the slicer and bass and beat. Here I could just click and drag. Same thing to erase. But if I'm inside of the bass beat, you have to click a value to kind of set the standard. For example, if I want to erase all of these notes, I have to click on a silent step first and then click and drag to the right. Let me undo that. Whereas if I want to populate, let's say these were blank. Yeah, if I want to populate from here on out with the hi-hats, I have to click the hi-hat first and then drag to the right. So that's a little bit of a different behavior. Good to know. All right, what did I say? Comb filter. We're here. Let's listen. Oh man, that is so rad. You see what's happening? It's placing two signals. Yeah, you gotta love that. That's great. Yeah, it sounds like a flanger chorus, right? It has a very similar effect to it. Love it. Beautiful, beautiful. What else we got here? The cutoff modulation. So we're choosing from 7 modulators from throughout the entire instrument to modulate the cutoff. Let's take a look at that. So here are the envelopes. I have a slicer envelope. Alright, let's keep looking. Bass envelope. Well, want to hear the difference between those two? Here's slicer. Wow, totally different. Here's bass modulation. Okay. Those sound similar. Here's the envelope follower for half note. Let's see. Oh my goodness gracious. So it's creating an envelope, right, for you without really having to do much math. I guess the modulation would affect that. Let's corroborate that. Alright, cool. Yeah, so if you move this over, it offsets it and moves everything kind of over to the higher end. If I move this to the left, you're going to hear the same effect, but from low to the mids. Guys, I'm so in love with this tool. I can't even tell you. Even as a, forget about the sequencers, forget about the tool as a complete unit. Just to drum up basic ideas like this. It's so easy to create something like this, you know, in Logic. It's not that it's hard, but it would take some energy. And here, just by the press of a couple, you know, of different buttons and step sequences, it's really amazing. I am absolutely in love. So you got a couple more. What's sequence position? Oh, you gotta love that. So it sounds like a step filter. I am so in love with that. I imagine this goes up. Let's check it out. Dude, this has been the best part for me personally, because I can see myself using this on so many different levels. So anyway, let me move on. Super excited. So let's move on to delay. The level adjusts the loudness of the delayed signal. Cool, that makes sense. So the top slider, right, has to do with volume. Feedback determines how long. That's right here, positioned vertically. And then time is always in sync with your host tempo. All right. Well, I want to test that. So let's turn off the filter. And you know, by the way, you don't have to do it this way. I just when I do tests and when I'm trying to learn something, I do the most simple stuff first. You know, like with delay, it's probably not a bad idea to do this, because if you have delay on every single one, you know, you're probably not going to be able to hear it. So I understand level, I understand feedback. Let's play with time. Okay, here we go. Oh, okay, you know what? And I didn't even notice that, but I'm starting to look at this little microphone, and you really have to kind of look closely. But there is a time division there, so it says like 1/32, 16th notes. So it's always going to kind of serve the song, and it's going to be in sync with the host tempo. So that's eighth triplets. Let's do just like a basic quarter note. So you can see what I did there, right? I added a filter, but just to the very first note. And so then now that exists together. I love the sounds. I love the textures. I guess if there was a gripe, unless I don't know about it yet, the fact that you probably can't change these. It looks like the only power you have to change any samples is up here. But then again, if you dragged in, you know, a basic loop, you could just sequence it up here. Um, it's not as simple and as, you know, laid out, as well laid out, right? But still, that could have been a nice feature, right? Just being able to drag in, you know, snare, kick, just for customization, not a big deal. Maybe, you know, the ability to do that here as well. But anyway, I'm still elated. I'm sure there are reasons why they decided not to do that, but I'm still absolutely lit. I love it. Reverb, we've got the size, right? How big, how small is it going to be? That's right here in the bottom. We have damping, which controls the length of the reverb, right? Similar to decay. And then the level, how loud it is. That's pretty basic. Let's go to lo-fi. Lowers the quality of your audio with our lo-fi effect. Very cool. And so when we turn bit depth down, that's on the far right, that's going to change the sample and how much it's degraded and how bad it sounds. But it's so bad that it's good. You know what I mean? Once you get below the 8-bit mark, things are going to get a little crazy. Nice. The sampling rate through the lo-fi channel can be adjusted in the slider at the bottom. Very cool. All right, so there's the sampling rate and there's the bit depth. Nice. Let's play with that real quick. I just wanna hear it. Let's just hear it by itself. I don't want to confuse anything. So this is all lo-fi. So this is full fidelity, and as soon as I start dragging down the slider, the audio is going to be degraded. Here we go. Yeah, same thing here. You can see that here's, you know, full fidelity, and then as I slide over, we start losing bit depth, you know. And it sounds like an old video game, which is a great sound. Again, very desirable and could still be used. Particularly, I could see this, you know, use in industrial music or music licensing, tension music, action tension. Yeah, man, I am seriously blown away. Here's chorus. We get a nice shimmering quality. I really like using chorus when I want to push something back in the mix. It takes the input and mixes it with one or more delayed pitch modulated copies. It's pretty easy stuff. Tape stop. Okay, let's go here. I'm interested in the tape stop and looper. Are these two different units? Yeah. Okay. So here's tape stop. I guess I'll do this just to try and test out the waters. Let's see. Tape stop simulates the effect you get when you turn off a tape recorder or a turntable. Adjust the time until full stop. Okay. So let's play with that. All I got to do is adjust the time unit. So let's start here. Okay, so there it's just going to stop right away. I'm wondering if it is only affected just for one step, I imagine. All right, and then of course if you want to tie that, you just increase the step count. All right, well, let's say we wanted this to really slow down. Yeah, okay, cool. That's pretty sweet. Here you go. I'm curious if I did this, how long it would take. Alright, cool. Yeah, they did a really fine job here. I love this. I even kind of like the way it just sounds on one. You know, it almost has an interesting effect without it, you know, without thinking about it like a tape stop effect. Yeah, I like that a lot. Pretty sweet. All right, let's go to looper. Let's read up on that. Looper is repeating its audio buffer according to the defined loop slice. Okay. Size change. A bipolar control. Negative settings make the loop size getting smaller over time. Positive settings allow the size to grow. Pitch change. Okay, okay. I got to use it because sometimes that language, honestly, I'm like, wait, what? So what we'll do is we'll do this, and we'll see how this affects everything. Yeah. All right. So that means that the loop is very short, if you will. Let me increase that halfway. You gotta. This is great. This is beautiful. Um, you know, again, I'm like, I wish I could separate the hi-hats and just use this for the hi-hats. But either way, I think it's just so valuable. What a phenomenal tool. What if I go really long? Let's see what happens. All right, so you're not really gonna get it there. And obviously, I think if you changed the playback, for example, if you went a little bit slower, maybe we should hear this. I don't know. Let's check. Yeah. Yeah, so you can hear it there, but that's because the time allows you to hear it. But if it's too fast, then you're not going to hear it. But yeah, this sounds pretty sweet. Check it out. And then also, like, I would just like to hear that just on the 1 and the 3. So you see that kind of stuff is like, ah, man. Now again, you could just play the part in, bounce it to audio, and you know, rock out. But it would be nice. It would be nice to have that flexibility. Not necessarily requesting it. I just think I'm just thinking out loud. Okay. All right. So here we go. All the settings. Let's get into the settings. We've covered the gist of it. You gotta love that. Determines how EGOIST engine is started. When the clock is set to internal, the pattern will start pressing a MIDI note and will always play from the beginning unless you play legato. Okay, roger that. In external mode, EGOIST pressing a MIDI note and will always start at the current song position, which makes sense. I think internal makes more sense for live. Here, let's read up on it. If the clock option is set to external host start, EGOIST will sync to your host start, so when you press play, the pattern will start wherever your host clock is at that point. Yeah, I've been really liking the way I've been playing it. So I'm in external, so I get to determine, you know, the playback. And it will always start at the current song position. Okay, CC mapping. If you want to start mapping stuff, you can do that. So looks like you can save a setting. Here, let me just save something so you see what it looks like. Let me call this test. I'll move this to the desktop. Alright, let's say I wanted to load that. So here it is, test. Alright, I'm not going to need that right now. But that's kind of nice. Let's say you take your time and you really map out, you know, all the various settings that you want to map out. What are some things that you can map out? I forgot, to be honest. There was something. What was it? Oh yeah. So you got the volume knobs. So you just control click. There were some other things. Yeah, all of these settings here. And so yeah, you can create your own CC map. Fantastic. Max out, be careful with this one. This is a master maximizer, making your output super fat and limiting to 0 dB. This makes your track breathe intensively. Alright, cool. So creative effect, but also good for performance. Preset isolate will not be saved or changed with the presets. Okay. Where do I have that? CC. Okay, cool. Or change with the presets. I may want to save that, to be honest. Like if I make a selection and I want to MIDI map something, that's okay, but I don't necessarily want to save it. Slicer time base. When the clock icon is selected, the internal envelopes and length adjustments are based on the length of the respective slices. With note, timer is based on a step length. You know what? I don't know enough about this one. I like what's currently happening, so I'm not changing this. What's Ignore program changes. Incoming messages will be ignored. Only presets from the folder MIDI programs. Not sure enough about that one. Direct pattern change. When off, switching between patterns will only be executed after the old pattern has finished playing. Will only be executed after the... Okay, so that's nice for live performance, right? Switching patterns will only be executed after the old pattern has finished playing. So that makes sense. So for live performance, turn that off. When on, while EGOIST is playing, patterns will switch immediately. Yeah, that makes sense. Here, I'll just go ahead and highlight that. Sometimes it's good to highlight so, you know, when you look back a month, 3 months from now, you can just get what you need to get and then move on. We talked about fine tune, we talked about master tune, and then what's monophonic slicer? This will make the slicer monophonic, which allows no overlapping. So if monophonic is active, a playing slice will be cut off by the next slice. Ooh, okay. We recommend to keep this option on unless you want your slices to overlap. Okay, let's check this out. Mine is off. And it hasn't bothered me. I gotta admit, but also it is really good to know. So I appreciate that. Here's authorization. This is where all the files are found. Pretty basic stuff. You may need to. The serial number is requested for installation, so be hip to that. Here's Ableton integration, Logic integration, all the other DAWs, MIDI remote. You can control all the parameters via MIDI, so you can automate stuff. There are MIDI program change. You can use MIDI program change to switch the global presets. That's nice. Therefore, just deactivate the ignore program changes setting. So you've got that. And it looks like we are done. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this installment. Really appreciate your time and just the ability to sit here and learn with you and grow with you. I am first and foremost a student of the game, and this is my life's work. I absolutely love it. I've been doing this for quite some time, and I feel very grateful and very honored to still be standing, still be working, and still evolving after all this time. So I will see you next time. Thank you very much from everyone at hfmusicacademy.com. We will see you later. Take good care of yourselves, and remember to keep your frequency high. Cheers.